Hey, it's Dr. V, your favorite Psych NP. So I want to do a brief overview of psychedelics and why I think this work is so important to continue to learn, understand, and hopefully find protocols that are effective for different mental health conditions. So to my knowledge, LSD is one of the psychedelics that was synthesized in like the late 1940s by a chemist. Now, so that's pretty relatively new, and that is the synthesized psychedelic. But there's the Mother Nature psychedelics, which comes in various forms, where there's ayahuasca, there's peyote, there's psilocybin. That's kind of the one that most people are familiar with the psychedelic mushroom. Popularized in 1950 by a banker that went down to see a villager that had used this medication to heal many people, and he wanted to get his hands on the medication. So Maria Sabina was a curandera, or a healer, and she would use psilocybin to heal a lot of people's ailments. And this is when this was brought back to the United States, along with the synthesis of LSD, and then also the synthesis of LSD used for the Soviet War, and how the CIA wanted to do mind controlling experiments where they created MK Ultra, where they would dose people with LSD. That's a whole nother topic, but these things happened. And this then progressed into about 1960s, 70s with the war in Vietnam, and how this medication and several different psychedelics were causing disruption in the US government. And lo and behold, it was outlawed and put in the same category as heroin, as meth, as a Schedule 1 by the Nixon administration. And since then, these substances have not been able to be used, studied, or really for us to learn about. And we see what happens is that people go to other places, Costa Rica, Peru, Mexico, to get spiritual retreats and spiritual relief, mental health relief, addiction relief, so many different areas that psychedelics have a significant impact in. And I say all this cautiously, and to remind you that it's not a one-size-fits-all, and these are very potentially dangerous substances if used incorrectly, just like anything else. Use the comparison of beer, because beer is completely legal, several options, several companies, but if you drink too much of that in one day, it can kill you. So you can't drive while you're drinking it. All these rules around it. However, there's no benefit in alcohol at all, and I make that comparison because these plants have significant benefit mentally, spiritually, to heal, psychiatrically, on so many levels that we have yet to understand. So I always make the comparison to beer of why lawmakers don't want to pass it, and it always comes back to the financial incentives of the big pharmaceutical companies that aren't going to be able to put a patent on this because it is from Earth and Mother Nature. So they're unable to do a patent. They're trying, and that's what you've seen with ketamine, and now switching it to S-ketamine, which was approved really quickly by the FDA for treatment-resistant depression, which is interesting in of its own. And it just speaks to the power that Big Pharma has to really lobby and kind of push their narrative where profit margins are involved. I digress, but this is an important piece to know that there are several cultural considerations when practicing psychedelics, honoring all of those other countries, other practices, other cultures, and really paying tribute as we can by talking about it and bringing up that discussion. Initially, when I got into psychiatry, my hope was to find an algorithm that would work best for schizophrenia, for depression, that we would say, let's do A, B, C, D, and this is gonna almost guarantee a 100% remission rate. And that was my intention, to improve the space, because it is a relatively new space and there's so much to be learned and so many treatments to be found, discovered, to help people. And I'm a big believer that if you're going to be taking a medication, that it better work. And that goes for all the interventions, not just medications. It goes for therapy, it goes for social support, it goes for groups, all these things that contribute. I see medications as just one spoke on a bicycle wheel, and there's several spokes. Some take up more than others, but that's how I see these medications being, another tool in the toolbox. And the most promising thing would be that the medication treatments, the experiences with psychedelic assisted therapy are brief but intense, and they're able to truly heal. I know specifically for racemic ketamine, it's been shown to increase BDNF factor in the brain, and this is basically the substance that we need to grow more neurons, and it assists with neurogenesis. And this is true healing in the dendritic spines of the neuron, where though that communication is expanding and certain areas of the brain are able to speak again to other parts. And it's beautiful to see on MRI. It's beautiful to know that that exists, and to know that we have the ability to truly heal people. So I will continue to speak on psychedelics, speak on my personal opinion and approach, and just continue to share anything that I learn, with you guys. Currently, the most exciting news would be that MDMA was in phase 4 of approval for depression and PTSD with a study from the DOJ and the MAPS organization with veterans using MDMA, ecstasy, during a psychedelic assisted therapy, where the patients were able to let go of those managers in their head and ego, and allow the therapist to work with that exiled part of the body, and really help it work through its emotion and what it's been holding on to that it hasn't been able to say. And if you're curious about the theory and model that I would suggest, it's called IFS, Internal Family Systems, and it's just another layer of how powerful psychotherapy can be. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys learned something from this, and if you have any questions, please drop them in the comment box. See you on the next one.